Brian Gutekunst is in an impossible situation. Like, it became him versus Aaron Rodgers, and you're not going to win against Aaron Rodgers, especially in this particular situation when we're talking about a Hall of Fame quarterback and a guy that's done it at a higher level than most of the people that's ever played this position. And then when you get the brunt of being the guy that messed it up with your decision-making and not communicating with Aaron Rodgers. So he's in an impossible situation. But what Brian Gutekunst just said is what the NFL has been and will continue to be. Right? Like, we all have had those situations where players have been let go and they still have potential to be good or a high level of play, but the organization or the team is moving forward. Look, I'm on Instagram, right? And I see these guys, I follow some of these guys that have lions as pets, right? The NFL organizations are like lions, all right? When you're doing well and you're feeding them and you're playing great, and you're doing all of that, you're going to get what you want most of the time. But there will come a time when that lion going to eat you. And at some point, regardless of the relationship that you've built up over years, and I'm talking an extended period of time, and there is no greater example than Tom Brady getting out of New England. Everybody thought that was a great situation. He's winning. He's taking less money to keep players. This organization is running like a well-oiled machine. Eventually, the lion is going to eat you, Max. And look, I think Aaron Rodgers is absolutely right about his particular say and the input that he wants. But Aaron Rodgers is a little blind to me. And it's shocking that he don't think that this particular situation is going to come up for him. It's going to come for every NFL player, whether that's you retiring or whether that's you being cut or released by a player. I'm not saying he's wrong for his feelings. A lot of NFL players have felt this way. But the organizations are going to turn into those lions that's going to eat you at some point. And we all got to live with that reality.
You just said hope that they eat you last. Look, I would say this is like from one of those Gladwell books that you buy at the airport. I forgot which
Malcolm
one.
Gladwell.
But he was talking about,
I love those books.
But he was talking about the idea about malpractice lawsuits with doctors, right? Those lawsuits are actually much more highly correlated with bedside manner than results. Think about that.
Interesting.
You can have lesser doctors getting you bad results will not be sued as much as doctors who get better results who have a better bedside manner. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What Aaron Rodgers is talking about and what's happening to Gutekunst right now is he's being sued for a bad bedside manner. And the press conference continued that. Look, watch. It's not hard. Gutekunst is in an impossible situation. No, here, I'll be Gutekunst. Here's my press conference. And I hope Gutekunst is watching because I'll show him how to do this. It's not that hard. Look, things have changed a lot in the NFL. Not for every quarterback, but for some special quarterbacks, Rodgers is right. It's not just like it used to be when in the NFL I grew up in and the way I learned the game. And I have to adjust to that new reality, and I didn't do it. Furthermore, Aaron's making points about my people skills. Obviously, if he is that offended by it, and I could be better about that. We maybe still cut all those players, because in the end, I still got to be the general manager. But maybe I could have gone about it differently, and maybe I should have, or not maybe, I should have sought his input. He shouldn't have had to kind of force it on me through this whole process. So, look, no one's perfect. I've learned from this, too, and I really hope I grow from this. And it's not that hard. It's not
Max,
that hard.
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
What I would say is this. The GMs, I brought it up earlier, football has its roots. It's a military game, right? It's a war. It's a metaphor for war. And it has its roots in West Point, not just in the Ivy Leagues. And they value the chain of command, and they really don't like insubordination, and they like everyone to know their place. But that's front offices telling players that since the dawn of time, right? Well, it has changed enough now that the GMs have to show the same humility at times. It's very few. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. Those are the only three it applies to at this moment. Maybe not even Russell Wilson. Maybe he's edging towards that, right? But right now, that's it, guys. That's it. And so even sometimes, not just GMs, but owners. Look, ask Dan Gilbert on a lie detector test who actually was the boss in Cleveland, him or LeBron James. Because on a lie detector test, if he says it wasn't LeBron James, it'll go off. Sometimes even if the quarterback is that powerful, even the boss over the owner. We've seen this in the NBA. James Harden told the Rockets, I will be traded to the Nets, and eventually he was traded to the Nets. AD essentially told the Pelicans, you will trade me to the Lakers, and eventually he was traded to the Lakers. And if LeBron wanted to come back, there were hoops Dan Gilbert had to jump through, right? And he jumped through those hoops, and LeBron came back. Aaron Rodgers is in that position with the Packers, and the quicker Murphy and Gutekunst realize this, the better chance they have. Molly, I agree, it's probably not going to happen, but at least they would give themselves a fighting chance. They must show humility.
Swaggo, let me just ask you one question, Max. I feel like everything you said there was absolutely spot on, but what I saw from that little press conference from him just now, it's very telling. Maybe he's bullish that he is doing things the right way, and Aaron Rodgers just has a different process, is a different kind of guy, and he doesn't want to collaborate or he doesn't want to have to concede because he feels like he's doing his job as he should, and there's just strife because they don't like each other. He doesn't like how he won't evolve, and that's why there continues to be that tension, and that's just sometimes how it is in life. Two people just do not like each other.
Well, look, both of y'all know I've looked at this from both sides. Like, I'm not just jumping in the Aaron Rodgers van and being like, you right about everything. And neither is Brian Gutekunst. But it gets to a point, okay, where people take self-reservation and they think about what they've done. And I get what you're saying, Max, about Brian Gutekunst and what he should say, what he should do. But he's also looking at it from a position of we're having success. And I know Aaron Rodgers is a big part of that success, but a lot of moves that he's made have turned out to be pretty good for the Green Bay Packers and good enough to get them one game away from the Super Bowl. So I understand that Aaron Rodgers is in that position. Player empowerment is great.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.